Welcome to Lunch and Learn. For those that haven't been here before, and I do recognise a few names in the room, a few people that have been here before. This is a chance for us to kind of give back to the local community. We don't charge for it. However, there is a slight caveat to that. I'll come to that in a second. We don't charge for it. It's us giving up our time to just give a bit of an insight into our knowledge on social search, that kind of stuff. Today, it's all about LinkedIn. And this is the stuff we do with our clients. This is the stuff we coach our clients on. We physically do it for our clients. So just to give you a bit of a background as to who we are, we've been going for 12 years now. The company is called onefoursix. If you can, by the way, if you can guess by the end of the webinar as to why we're called onefoursix, someone in the room, I've got a feeling someone in the room might know. If you can guess why we're called onefoursix, I will send you a Christmas gift. So there you go. There's your challenge. But we're called onefoursix. We cover 4 key areas of marketing. Social media campaigns. We run social media campaigns. One of our clients, for example, is Wilton Mill Karting over in Wilton. We do all their socials. Check them out. That's what we do. We run search campaigns, so we get websites at Google in the right way. One of our clients in that is Franklin Solicitors over in Northampton, MK. We dominate local search for them. Ad campaigns, we run ad campaigns for Google and social. Client we work at, well, we could say Franklin Solicitors again, because a lot of our search clients also run ads. And then the final thing is we build websites, and in fact, we've just had confirmed today that we are about to rebuild the Cynthia Spencer website. So we're really pleased with that. We're working with them from a search perspective. We had that confirmed about half an hour ago. So that's what we do as well. So that's a little sell. And everything we talk about on Lunch and Learn kind of feeds into what we do with our clients. So today we're talking about Lunch and Learn and growing your lunch. Talking about LinkedIn.
Growing your lunch.
Growing lunch is great. Growing your LinkedIn contacts, connections without paying for premium. This is the kind of stuff we coach our clients about. This is the kind of stuff we, on occasions, do for our clients. So, you know, we've got really good insight into this. And there's nothing special per se, but hopefully this gives you a bit of a nudge in the right direction. So, I'm Dave. There's my goofy picture. This was my hair in lockdown. This is my hair today because I haven't done it. I've been wearing a cap all day, but I kind of feel like a cap on Lunch and Learn shouldn't happen. There you go. Shall I wear it like that? I don't know. But I will. I'm going to put it on. Why not? I wear caps a lot because it covers me. So I'm Dave. I founded onefoursix. We also run a company called Northampton Life, which you might have heard of. There's a couple of brands, a couple of the brands in the background we've run that you might not be aware of. My job here is to kind of do things. Well, I run the company. I think strategically. I get involved with some clients on a kind of a search and social perspective. But to be honest, my boss is Rebecca. She does a lot of our kind of client stuff. So Rebecca, I'll hand over to you if you want to give an idea as to what you do. That'd be great.
Hello everybody. I do mostly the marketing for onefoursix as the company, as if they're my client, and then I also do some other clients work as well. I do a mix of socials and search and website building. Once they've done like the designs and everything, I'll write a lot of the content for it and pad it out and look after clients long term. And yeah, I make Dave do all the TikToks and the videos that we do. I'm in charge of that.
Yeah, I get collared. Cool. Thanks,
Fun.
Bex.
You love it, really.
Bex you've been with us for a year and a half, haven't you? And yeah, it's been good. It's been good. You do a lot of you do a couple of different things, but you're pushing a lot on the search perspective. But one of your key expertise, I would say, on socials is LinkedIn. You've got a real passion for LinkedIn that shines through. So I'm hoping that you guys can get a good insight as to, you know, Becca was going along in Becca's head today because she's brilliant at LinkedIn.
Thanks.
I mentioned earlier there's a slight caveat. We support Cynthia Spencer. We have done for years. In fact, that's an old logo over there, so I need to update that. We don't ask for payment in any kind of way, but we do say if you're able to make a donation to Cynthia Spencer, what would usually be a ticket fee, we have a just giving paid for that, or you can just go over to Cynthia's Mentor, donate to them direct, or you don't have to. It's not checked. It's not mandatory, but we'd love it if you did. If you could spare £5 or 20 quid or 10 quid or £2, whatever you want to do, or even a charity of your choice. If there's a better charity, not better charity, that's bad. Another charity.
All
So
right.
yeah, that's great. We'll move.
Good
So,
thing there's no one from Cynthia Spencer on this webinar. Hey,
I
good shout.
know. I mean, in my eyes, there isn't a better charity. I mean, there's a lot of charities out there that do great jobs, but I'm waffling now and I'm digging a hole. So let's move on. So today's all about growing your LinkedIn network without paying for premium. We get asked this quite a lot, and we quite often get put in front of us. And we had recently had someone say, growing your LinkedIn network without paying for premium is impossible. It's not impossible. I mean, that's a ridiculous thing to say, to be honest. I don't pay for premium. I used to. I don't anymore. None of our team pay for premium unless it's without me knowing. Rebecca,
I've got a free trial that I'm using at the moment.
Oh, there you go.
Which is a good tip.
That's a great tip, actually. They often give away free trials, but it's not necessary. There are ways of growing your LinkedIn network without premium. And I think what is key here, and we'll come on to this throughout, let's be fair, it's really easy to grow your connections. You connect with someone, that's growing your connections. But what is absolutely crucial here is growing them in the right way. And that's what the premium version of LinkedIn allows you to do in a much easier fashion. But there's ways of doing it without premium. But what's key for me here is, it's really easy to go and click through and add loads of people. You get recommendations for them. Welcome to the person that just entered the room, by the way. It's really easy to do that. But what is absolutely key is making sure that you do it in the right way with the right target audience. I'm going to cite an example shortly, which is actually related to us. But before we do that, we're going to jump into some tactics, kind of the three main ways of growing your LinkedIn network, just to kind of put things into perspective. So the first way, and Bex, I'm going to ask you to explain this if you don't mind, because you've put these three together. The first way is a wildfire approach. So Bex, over to you.
Well, this is just, I call it the wildfire approach because it is just like, when you get connections from people, you don't know who they are. They don't even have like a profile photo, or when you're searching and you're coming across people and you're like, they don't have very many followers. Like, maybe I should connect with them, but they're not in any way a part of your target audience. You've not looked to find that out. That's basically the wildfire approach. People who connect with literally anyone without really a plan. And so this would be a tactic to try and avoid, if that's the kind of thing you're doing at the moment. If that's working for you, fine, but usually it doesn't work in a way that gets you any like quality connections. So that's why I called it the wildfire approach. It just goes everywhere and creates havoc.
Yeah, it's with anyone, essentially. You're not thinking about why you're connecting with people, for what reason you're connecting with people. And there's nothing wrong with connecting with certain people, even if they're outside of your kind of core network. I do on the odd occasion, but there might be a reason for it. Maybe they're local, maybe it's a supplier per se, or they've been to an event, but they're not necessarily our target audience, but they've still been to an event. There's no reason, but there's no reason why you can't connect with certain people, but have a reason to connect with them. Don't just start adding every single person on the planet. Have a reason to connect with people, and that's thank you for explaining the wildfire approach there, Bex. Obviously, the other method, second method, is the money bags method. Bex, do you want to explain this one?
Yes. Well, the reason I wrote this blog was because I joined a LinkedIn group to learn how to do social selling better, because I'm always going to try and improve. And one of the questions, and I was paying for this course, and one of the questions someone asked was, you don't really need premium though, do you? Like, it's a lot of money. You don't need premium to be able to do this. And the guy who was running it was like, yeah, you do. Yeah, can't do it without premium. And I was like, that's not, we're already paying for your course. I didn't stay on the course after the first month because it wasn't as helpful as I thought it was going to be. But he was really convinced that you had to invest money in. And if that was really true, LinkedIn wouldn't constantly be updating features and making it so that you can do this for free. Obviously, they make money from advertising. So, sometimes it's not a bad idea to put some money into sponsoring and like doing a free trial of LinkedIn, or maybe if you've got you want to recruit and you put a budget to recruit through LinkedIn for a couple of months or something, or you have a specific project you want to work on. But in general, growing your connection, you don't need to pay premium every month for 3 years to grow your connections to a decent amount. And so that's why I called it the money business, because I think this guy was just in it for the money.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good.
Which I suppose all of us are, but I didn't think it was very helpful.
Yeah. It's good advice, and there's another way that you can actually use money to grow your connections, and that is using LinkedIn ads in a certain way. Personally, I wouldn't recommend it. I don't think it works very well. I think it's all about. I mean, it's the same with finding someone on Google. Organic search works better than paid ads. There might be a reason for it, but organic search will always work better than paid ads. So it's better to do it organically over time. It's going to take time rather than paying. Now, the third way, which is the one we're focusing on today, is not the money. There we go. It's the knowledgeable networker. So, Bex, again, if I could hand over to you.
Well, this is just what it's a fun title for calling social selling, is the art of selling through social networks by growing your connections, establishing an expertise, and using your knowledge and your content and your people skills, your communication to grow a network of valuable connections, and then they buy from you eventually. And that's what we're going to try and talk you through today, just a few ways of doing that, basically. So that the idea of social selling and being a knowledgeable networker is on LinkedIn is by is to basically have people come to you. At the end of the day, you're going to put a lot of work in. It's not a quick solution, but when you put the work in, you'll find people come to you as you grow your network and you establish your expertise. That's it.
I think that's a really good explanation. Yeah, and by the way, Bex has put a lot of time into a blog that's on our website. So if you want to recap any of this, you can read it in the blog. We're offering a little bit more on the webinar, obviously, but a lot of this is in the blog. So yeah, the knowledgeable networker. It's essentially a way of social selling. It's a way of getting across that you are the expert. And what is absolutely key within that is ensuring that my trail of thought has gone. What is absolutely key within that is ensuring that the people you're actually speaking with or marketing to, in a sense, despite it being hopefully educational content, the people you're marketing to should be a certain person, a target person. Because like I said, it's very easy to grow your connections, but you need to be growing your connections with the right people, and we're going to come on to that now. So what we wanted to do after we've kind of set the scene, we want you to kind of think as the knowledgeable networker, the social seller. But after now that we've set that scene, we want to give you some kind of advice, some tips on specifically how you can kind of approach this and how you can become that knowledgeable networker, and what you can do to kind of grow your connections in the right way. Okay, so the first thing we wanted to come on to was about measuring your progress. Now, measuring your progress is analyzing stuff. It usually kind of comes at the end of stuff. I wanted to put it at the start. Bex, actually, you put it at the start in the blog, and I think it's quite key, because there's almost two ways of doing this. There's a way of measuring your progress throughout, and then measuring how you're getting on at the end of a certain period. There's almost those kind of two ways. And I want to give you an insight into how we do things. So we are, as an agency, we're a local, almost generalist agency in a sense, 146 are. I hate to call us a jack of all trades. I don't think we are. We've got specialisms in certain areas. But we deal with quite a few different types of industries, from legal through to finance, through to leisure and activity, through to charity, through to food and drink. there's quite a few different types of industries we work and operate within, and we're successful within. However, we are in the very near future going to be launching a specific brand focused on a specific industry. That industry is legal, because we've got a number of clients in the legal industry. Generally clients that don't compete with each other because they're not in the same locations. And we've looked at that model and we thought, we know exactly how to work within the legal industry. We know we can replicate what we're doing, across multiple clients. It makes it very easy for us to do work. So when we were thinking about, okay, if we set up a new brand, how are we going to market this? One of the ways we wanted to market ourselves naturally is on LinkedIn. So we need to start thinking about, okay, well, who are we reaching out to? Who's our target audience? And we'll come on to that in a second, because our next slide is going to be knowing who your ideal connections are. But whilst we're doing that, we're first of all measuring our progress throughout. So we've got we use a tool called Monday. I'm not sure whether anyone's heard of Monday. It's a project management tool, essentially. To put it plainly, it's a glorified Excel board. Really, isn't it, Bex?
Yeah.
It's a really fancy, really good looking, really simple to use Excel thing. It costs us a shed load of money to run it, but it works for us. And what we do throughout our whilst we're trying to connect with our target audience, and our target audience here are marketeers in legal firms of a certain size. Again, we'll come on to that in a second. We track those details on a Monday board. Its details are in the public domain. We track them on our Monday board, and then we assign certain statuses to say we've connected, we've gained contact, we've gained a lead, and we kind of follow that progress throughout. So it's really important to follow the progress throughout, building that feed. But also, at certain points, you can measure it using your SSI score. Now, Bex, I'm going to ask you to explain the SSI score, because this isn't you know far more about than I do.
Yeah, so I don't know if all of you probably know what an SSI score is. So on LinkedIn, there's a way, it's called SSI, stands for Social Selling Index, and everyone has a link, a way of getting access to a score that gives you that you track. That basically LinkedIn has this tool where you can measure how good your LinkedIn profile is, and so it's really cool. If you've not used it, get in touch with me and I can take you through how it works at a basic level. But basically, ways that you can analyze and kind of track your progress. I'd say so. Dave's talking a lot about key people and key targets there, but also just getting to know your LinkedIn page a bit better, your profile, where it gives you analytics of how many profile views you've got recently and how many impressions your posts have done. You don't have to have a complicated company page to see things like how many followers you've got at the moment compared to how many followers or connections that you get in a month. So the crux of this point is to just don't throw yourself into this plan without giving yourself a starting point, because it will feel even more satisfying if it goes really well, if you know that you've made a big difference to how many connections you had, and say something like, I'm going to give myself 5 months. If you're like a SMART goals person, you might want to say, I'm going to give myself 5 months to grow my connections by 200, and I'm going to do it by this and this and this. And so that's what this section is about, just making sure that when you start doing this, you give yourself something to track so that you can see if it's working or it's not working, and then you can measure your progress. If you don't think about how many followers or connections you've got until 2 months down the line, and then you can't remember how many you had, or if LinkedIn analytics can be a bit funny, sometimes you can look back and check, and sometimes they're like, you need premium for this. So just depends on how you like measuring things, and your SSI score is a free thing to look at. So that's another way of tracking.
Cool. So you've got these two different ways of measuring your progress. By the way, these kind of tips and advice, they all go hand in hand. There's no, this one isn't the most important, but it's just one we want to highlight first. But there's two key ways of measuring your progress. En route, whilst you're doing things, jot stuff down. Have you connected with them? Have they accepted? Has it resulted in a lead? You can start to see that progress. There's tools that will help you to do that, whether it's Excel, whether it's HubSpot, whether it's Monday, whatever that might be. And that way you can be more targeted, which will bring me on to my second point. And then the other way is by analysing at the end of a certain period, maybe every single month, what your SSI score is, because that will give you an indication as to how you're progressing with your connections. So let's move on to the second point. Know who your ideal connections are. Now, this is crucial because I mentioned at the beginning that it's very easy to grow your connections. I mean, if I look at, I'm going to open up my LinkedIn now, and I'm going to go to my network. And here we go. All the way down here, I've got, I'm not sure if you can see that properly. I've got different people I can connect with, okay? I can click connect. I'm growing my LinkedIn network. However, it's totally irrelevant. Why do I want to connect with the head of development and BI? I don't know where he is. There's no reason for me to do that unless I want to connect with that specific person. So what is absolutely key here is knowing who your ideal connections are. And what I would encourage you guys to do is sit down and jot down who these people are. Do a put together a client persona. Who is your ideal client? What does that look like? So for us, when we're going to launch, so the company we're launching is called the Legal Search Agency, and it's going to sit below 146 and just focus on legals. When we sat down and thought, okay, how are we going to market this? We thought, right, well, what's the person? What's a typical person? So we look at one of our ideal clients, one of our current clients, and we know that they are generally around about 50 people. So we say between about 5 and 50 people. That's our ideal type of company. They are in the legal industry. They have 1, maybe 2 marketeers. Typically, one of them is a marketing manager, and they outsource work, things like ads, things like search. They do a lot of the strategy and the socials in-house. We don't want to do that for legals. We just want to focus on the web. So we're looking for those kind of companies. And because they've got marketing managers, 1 marketing manager, maybe an assistant, we want to target that marketing manager or that marketing director or that head of marketing. And then all of a sudden, we know who our ideal connection is. It's a head of marketing, it's a marketing director, it's a marketing manager in those companies. Now, we might, at some point further down the line, change that slightly and think, well, actually, a partner is the better, connection for us. Or certainly now we've connected with a load of marketing managers. Moving forward, we want to start connecting with partners of legal companies. However, I also know that you get quite a few partners in legal companies. They tend to look at different aspects of the business. So one might focus on marketing, one might focus on HR, but they won't necessarily say that on their LinkedIn profile. So that's difficult to decipher. So when you look at that, you might be starting to add people that aren't necessarily relevant. So you kind of come back to the fact that it's marketing managers we need to be looking at. So it's really key that you know who your ideal connections are, because first of all, when you connect with them, if you're able to connect with them, the content you're pushing out is going to be relevant to them. And at the end of the day, what you're doing on LinkedIn is all to do with getting leads, getting business. That's what it's all to do with. You're doing it in the way of building relationships, but at the end of the day, it's about generating business. Let's be fair. Us doing Lunch and Learn, it's our way of giving back, but our ultimate aim, in a very, very soft, salesy way, is to build connections, build relationships where people trust us over time, and then they eventually buy from us. That's our aim, and we have that from Lunch and Learn. The same applies on LinkedIn. So you need to make sure your connections are the right connection, but not just because when you're pushing content down there, it's going to be relevant to them. You've got to make sure it's the ideal connection, the right connection, because when you're connecting with them, they're more likely to connect with you. If you're connecting with someone who is not in your target audience, they're not going to connect with you. They're not going to. If you then start getting a lot of people who say, I don't know who this person is, you might get certain restrictions placed on your LinkedIn account. So it's quite important to make sure that you are doing this in the right way. And it's quality over quantity, 100% quality over quantity. Anything to add, Bex?
No, I think that for this post, that's covered for this. Yeah.
Thank you. I like to be quite concise. So moving on from who your ideal connections are. The next thing you need to do is you need to ensure that your profile is saying what it should do about you. And Bex, I'm going to hand over to you if you don't mind, because you're really good at this side of things. You're really good at, in fact, my profile's rubbish compared to yours. And it's stuff that I know that you'll say, you need to look at this, you need to sort this, you need to sort this. I know. You know, I'm one of these guys that preaches it, but I struggle to get around to doing it sometimes. So over to you on the quality of your profile.
Yes, yours does still say something along the lines of, as we go into 2016, we've now had lunch, and we've now been doing 146 for 5 years. And considering we just did 12 years this year, you need to update it.
Okay, well, I think the key the key thing there is DDAD. Don't do a Dave.
Yeah, don't do what Dave does. So, but this is basically some of you will find this super easy, and or have already done it, and some of you will find this like a really difficult step to talk about yourself. But just making sure your profile is up to date, that your skills are lifted, so that when you do reach out to people, they know why you're reaching out and that you're not a bot, and that you've put effort into your LinkedIn, and that they're going to be getting a valuable connection back out of it. It means they can see what you're doing, you know, like if you work in a company. So basically, when you're on LinkedIn, you're either probably on LinkedIn because you're working for a company or marketing a company, and there's like a company page and you're in marketing or something like that, or you're marketing yourself as your own brand because you're an entrepreneur or a solo business or something, solo person in business or something. So, but either way, your profile should be up to date. So even if you've got a company with a company page and you're not the most senior person in the business, but you are putting a lot of effort into that company page and building it, your profile is also important. So just make sure that you're keeping your profile up to date. You've got a good photo, and you've got what you do in your headline, however, and a bit of personality, however you want to do it. There's lots of things out there. And if you don't like writing about yourself, use ChatGPT or something and put some information in there and ask it to write for you a little introduction or something like that. So I think that before you go off trying to make loads of connections, or just as part of your organic growth, is just making sure your profile up to date is a good thing to be doing.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Like I said, don't do a Dave. And also make sure your team's profile's up to date. It's crucial that they involved as well. And I'm not going to.
You've got colleagues, make sure that
they're
I'm keeping them up to date too.
I'm not going to dwell too much on kind of employee engagement because it's going to come in a slide or two. But making sure their profiles are correct, up to date. Becca, making sure my profile is correct and up to date is absolutely crucial. I will get that done over Christmas. Right, we've got a question. Sharon, how can you get the SSI for company page? Click the link, but I think it gave me my SSI score, not company page. Yes, Bex is spot on. They're for personal profiles only. There are analytics. Is it analytics or insights? I can't remember what it is. I get confused.
Analytics for company pages, but unfortunately there isn't an SSI score for company pages. It is a personal thing. It's just for your profile.
But use the analytics. You know that it all helps. It helps gauge how things are going. We're talking more so about a personal profile today. You know what? We will actually cover at the very end. I haven't got a slide for it. We will cover some ideas, some tips for increasing connections. Followers on the company pages, and then we'll do a Q&A for any other questions we've got. We can go live.
We can also do a more company page specific one next year if you want. If people are interested in learning more about running a company page and growing that, then we could certainly do that as a whole actual lunch and learn next year.
Yeah, that sounds good. Okie dokie. So we've covered off measuring your progress, knowing who your ideal connections are, and making sure your profile says what you need it to say about you. So we're going to move on to, my mouse isn't working, there you go. Put yourself where your audience are.
Actually getting the connections. Woo, that's why you've come here.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, there's the easy way to, let's talk about two different ways. There might be more actually, Becca. I'll let you kind of cover off any
I've
more.
got one that I want to specifically talk about.
Okay, cool. That's fine. Is it?
It's not listed that you're going to say because I
Yeah.
forgot to put it in the blog.
Okay. I hope not, because I'm about to say something that wasn't in the blog. So there's two things I'll say. Shout, Rebecca, if I start covering your stuff off. So one of the easiest ways, one of the key ways, is by using the search functionality.
Ah, that's what I was going to say.
Is that what you're going to say? Okay, cool.
Yeah,
you know what? I'm going to leave that one for you. Okay, I'm going to leave that one for you. So you crack on with the search stuff. Talk through the kind of stuff that we're doing with our stuff at the moment.
With search, basically LinkedIn has got search functions you can use without needing to pay for premium, and a lot of people don't notice that it's there. So when you go to the there's a you're on your main page and there's a search button at the top. There's a little magnifying glass, and you could type that's where you type someone's name in. So if you wanted to find Dave, you put Dave's name in, and it will come up with a list of people. You can also type in other words in there, like Northampton or marketing manager. And you could type in, let's say, so you're trying to find a company that you want to buy some of your products. You know what kind of company that is, and you know that you want that kind of location. But you could find that company by searching for it. And then you should get a load of filters that come up at the top. And then you can start using those filters to narrow down more connections. So if you search for marketing, because you're trying to connect with more marketing people, or MDs, managing directors or something, you put something like that, you can filter it down. You can filter it down by how connected they are to you already. Like if they are connected to you through other connections, or if you've never heard of them, and then you're not connected to them at all. Or if they are, you can search them locally, so whereabouts they are, the size of the company. There's all sorts of different filters you can use, and that's when you can just go through and find people that match your specifics and reach out to them. I would always send a connection message as well, and you can go look on their profile and see what they are, what's about them, or what they're about, or if they're exactly the right match for you. But even if it's just targeting an area, you can search. There's quite a high volume you can get through before LinkedIn are like, you've done too much searching. They don't really tell you how much it is, but I've never had the notice come up saying you've done too much searching. So I think it's quite a lot. I think you can look at something like 250 profiles a day, but LinkedIn won't confirm it. It's all conjecture and guesses from other places that put that research in. But yeah, so 100%, as well as growing in all of the other organic ways, you can use the search function to actually just find people and then connect with them. And that's a quick, really satisfying way of getting through a few people.
There's three things that you need to bear in mind there as well. So you've got the ability to search. Once you know who it is you're looking for, you've got the ability to search them, connect with them. You need to give them a reason to connect with you. So make sure you're filling in that connection requests box with something unique, something specific. You can, if you wanted to, if you've got, because it's going to different people, if you've got a message that you feel works and it sounds unique and whatnot, you can kind of copy and paste it over, but don't just go with the standard one, because you want to give someone a reason to actually connect. Whether it's a case of we're in the same industry, I thought it'd be good to share insights or connect, or you're a client of ours or you're a supplier of ours. Make sure you're quite specific as to why it is you're looking to connect with someone. And then the third thing is, which we will come on to, I keep saying that, we will come on to in a couple of slides' time, is you've got to make sure you're adding value. and that's going to come through the posting, the content, which is 2 slides time. So yeah, put yourself where the audience are. There are other ways of being able to do that. One of the ways is by being active in LinkedIn groups. So there are so many different LinkedIn groups. Be active in a LinkedIn group, communicate with people. You can actually message people if you're part of the same group as well. So you don't need the premium function. You can message people who are in a group, even if you're not connected to them. So utilize that. Become thought leaders within that group. Get yourself known within that group. They might be local groups. They might be industry-specific groups. They might be skill set-specific groups. But utilize those groups. I think they're better than they used to be. Groups I didn't think used to be any good, but they do have some value. The other way you could look at it is by communicating with, I think, the Santa value, and almost warms up potential future connections. Engage with LinkedIn pages as well. So pages that are within your target audience, whether local, industry specific. Engage with them as well. Like them, comment on them, tag someone in if you're looking to get to know someone. Don't do the salesy approach. Just engage. I think that's key. So put yourself where the people are, where your audience are, by either searching them out direct, putting yourself into groups, or engaging with their company pages. Was there anything else that we've missed there, Bex?
I think a really good one to do is look at your connections and who they're connected to. Because people are more likely to accept a connection request from a stranger if you have a mutual connection. So even if just spend some time going through your connections and look at who they're connected to and see what their job titles are, if that's the kind of thing, like if you know the kind of job title or region or whatever that you're going through, when you look at other people's connections, your free version of LinkedIn will still let you look at quite a lot of them. So it's totally worth doing that. Like if you think about 100 connections you've got, and then 50 of them are connected with people that are useful, and then so you go out to all of those 50 people and try to connect with them with a mutual friend, and they're more likely to connect with you, you could end up with a good load of connections from that. So for sure, like use that to your advantage. And another thing I'd just say is if you're trying to get in contact with particularly high up people, like managing directors or partners, or like someone that probably wouldn't accept your connection request, it's a long game, but connect with the lower level people in that company who are more likely to accept open connection requests that they do to people they don't know. And then once you've had that for a while, then reach out to the people that you need, because they're more likely if you've got a connection, especially if they're working in the same company. So that's some of them will take a little while, those ways of doing it, but we're not about like quick gains. We're not paying to get loads and loads of people. It is something that you are growing organically and natural, but they're much more valuable when you can get them that way. So that's my 3 favorite ways of doing it.
Cool. So we're going to come on to encouraging employee engagement, and this is not going to directly increase your connections. However, it will have an indirect, what's the term I'm looking for, effect on your connections. So it's really, for me, it's important that employees get involved with LinkedIn as well. If you've got a team there, it's really important that employees get involved as well, because they can essentially do what you're doing, but double. And the people they're connecting with, there's no reason why you can't, in the future, engage and connect with them over time as well, because they'll instantly recognize the company name, the charity name, whatever that might be. It makes it easier to connect with people. So although you're not directly connecting with people, because, let's say Rebecca is connecting with people, the people I've quite often seen people engage on Rebecca's feed, and I think, oh, hello, and I'll engage and then connect with them. And that's how things kind of build. So there is certainly, for helping to increase connections, employee engagement will help indirectly. But to be honest, it helps from a brand awareness perspective anyway. So why would you not do that? We've also had customers, I won't name who, we've had customers in the past, and I get it, but they are against employee engagement. And I find that quite baffling. We've actually got a customer who was previously against employee engagement, and I'd say about half a year ago, a member of their team went over to a competitor that were very good with encouraging employee engagement, and now all of a sudden they love encouraging employee engagement, and they had courses on it and whatnot. Great that they've kind of stepped out of their shell on that, but it shows that the mentality of, oh, we don't like our employees to get involved on LinkedIn because we think they might be poached or whatever, it doesn't stack up. It doesn't stack up, because they will be poached regardless. But actually, by getting them to engage, they're more likely to enjoy their job, for starters. They're more likely to become advocates for their job. But think about it like this: if your concern is they're going to get poached, they could get poached anyway. You know, if they're looking for work, they'll look for work. So employee engagement has many different advantages. What is absolutely key, and this is probably one of the more important things, is being active, being relevant, and being consistent. So I'm going to break those down to 3 areas. Active. So how can you be active? First of all, you can be active by connecting with people in the ways that we've mentioned. You can be active by posting out content regularly. Now, there's no hard and fast rule with that. You don't have to do it daily. You don't have to do it weekly. But do it at certain points. There's loads. I'm not going to delve too deeply into the types of content that you can be sharing. One of the best pieces of advice I would give you is look at how other people are active. Look at what other people share, especially your competitors or people in similar industries, kind of crossover industries. Have a look at what they do and be active. Make sure you're out there. The second thing, relevancy. If you're connecting with people within your target audience, you need to make sure that content you're sharing with them is relevant to them. Don't make it salesy. I read something in preparation for this. So the way we prepare for Lunch and Learns is, Rebecca, you tend to do a lot of the work. Used to be me. You tend to do a lot of the work at the moment. It's an absolute godsend. I can turn up to Lunch and Learn and just deliver. And then Rebecca moans at me afterwards for saying, you haven't done this. You haven't done... No, she doesn't. I do prepare in a way, but just not as much as I used to. Rebecca does the prep. And then what I do is I do my own prep on the day of the event, just to see if there's anything else I could add to it, or I think about, anything else my clients have done. And I read something about relevancy, about making sure the content is relevant and making sure it's not too salesy. We've all heard about the 80-20 rule, and it applies in many different ways. 80% valuable content, 20% sales. I read something about the 4-1-1 approach, I think it was called, where 4 of your pieces of content, let's say it's in a week, just, to put a time span on it, 4 of your pieces of content are educational, value add pieces of content. So for us, it might be 4 pieces of content from this. It might be a case study, it might be something like that. And then 1 of your pieces of content is a soft sell. And then 1 of your pieces of content is a hard sell. And what that does is it ensures that you're getting those key sales messages in there, which I don't think we should deviate away from. At the end of the day, we're here to make a living. We're here to sell. We're here to gain clients in whatever way, clients, donations, supporters, whatever it might be. But you don't want to be doing too much because people are going to get bored of the content. So a majority of your content, whether it's the 80-20 approach, whether it's a 4-1-1 approach, it needs to be relevant. It needs to be educational. It needs to add value in order to get heard, to get seen, to get engaged with. And if it is, those soft sales and those hard sales will then resonate more. You'll probably get better engagement, better conversions off the back of them. An example of a soft sell for us might be attend our Lunch and Learn. It's a soft sell. It gets people into our network. People start to learn about us. People start to talk about us. A hard sell might be buy a website. I mean, that's a really bad call to action, but you know what I mean. The third thing is about consistency. I have a business coach called Brian Wrigley. Some people might know him. We were chatting the other day because we're building a couple of strategies for the year ahead, 2024. And it's this time of year where we start to think about strategy and how that looks. And we've got a number of different companies in our group, so we look at strategies across each of them. And one of the things he said for me which kind of really made me think. I'd never heard it before, which is weird. Was he had I think it was, I can't remember exactly what it was called, maybe the 1-1-1 approach or something like that. And he said, focus on one thing to one type of person for 1 year. Something like that, something really weird like that. But the thing that got me there was the 1 year thing. And what he was getting at was you have to be consistent. You have to put it out there for a period of time. We onboarded a client last Friday. Bex will know who I mean because she sat in on the meeting, and they've got a marketing agency at the moment. I'm not going to name names, but one of the frustrations around the agency they were using was, first of all, this was an ad campaign they were running. The advice was kind of one way from the client to the agency, but the advice was only being implemented for, let's say, a week at a time. It wasn't consistent. And for ad campaigns, I'm not sure whether people in the room know this, sometimes you need to let it run for a little bit longer because you need to kind of go through a learning phase. And a particular type of strategy was being adopted for a week. And we're sat there thinking, no, you need to be consistent with it. You need to make sure it's out there for a period of time. So consistency is absolutely key. And how that consistency looks is going to be personal to you. It might be you do some outreach, some connection building, some posting, some engagement on a daily basis. It might be on a 2-day basis. It might be on a week's basis. But whatever you decide, make sure you stick to it and it's consistent, because that is what will make you more active, more relevant, and that is what will help you achieve your goals. Make sure you have goals as well. I think that's crucial. So yeah, 3 things here: being active, being relevant, being consistent. Anything you want to add, Bex? Or have I covered like everything on the planet right now?
No, I think you have covered everything. Like, if you just think about how your active works, like, not everyone's going to be able to put the same amount of effort in every day or weekly, and not everyone is going to have the same goals. So it depends. And if your priority is the company page rather than your own personal profile, then that's going to look a bit different. Definitely relevant is strong to think about. I actually had to learn this because I was following too many people that I thought were interesting for my own personal LinkedIn professional curiosity, and my feed was getting full of stuff that was not relevant to work, and that's not going to help me build connections for work. Like, I mean, I'm still learning from them, so I have a really keen interest in LGBTQ plus problems in workplaces, and I have a really big interest in that, and the way that they're coping, and the things that people are doing that are good, and the things people are doing that are bad. And I was going to my LinkedIn thinking about, my plan to grow my legal connections, and everything I was looking at to interact with was about the LGBTQ plus community, which is interesting, but not going to get me connections. So I've actually had to scale it back a bit. Plus, some of the stuff is awful that people do to anyone in minorities. And I was going on my LinkedIn and I was getting depressed and angry and not being successful with getting my network built. So I had to change that, because although that is a professional interest and it is something I'm passionate about, that is not going to help me grow. I'm commenting on those posts is not going to get me more legal connections. So that, when you're thinking about relevancy, maybe it is a good idea to. I had to learn that the hard way, and I wasted a bit of my time by building up a really good feed of stuff that was irrelevant to what I need to do for my job this year. So think about that when you're thinking about relevancy. And consistency is, try and do your best to comment and to post. Use your company posting. If you've got someone else doing your marketing, or if someone else's stuff going on your company page, use that. That's not a problem. And also use other people's materials. Like, even if you want to talk about growing connections and you see something that we post, you can share that, as long as you add a comment to it and add your perspective and stuff. Like, there's no harm in using other people's work, as a prompt for you to consistently post without you having to think of content yourself.
Cool, thank you. So be active, be relevant, be consistent. Two more things I want to stress on. I'm gonna not going to dwell on this one too much, but there are other ways as well. I'm going to give you 2 ways. One of them might be just putting it on the bottom of your LinkedIn, not LinkedIn. That would be weird. Putting it on the bottom of your email signature, try and get people to connect through. But then the second way, which is something I do, I don't take business cards to networking meetings anymore. I've got some, to be honest, I forget. But what I do is I say to people, I don't take business cards, let me add you on LinkedIn. You know, I'm stood in front of them, I do it there and then. We've all got phones, it takes 2 seconds. So another way to kind of grow it. But I'm not going to dwell on those ways because I think most of the stuff you should be doing should be through LinkedIn. But what I do want to do is just cover off in the few minutes we've got remaining. And by the way, if anyone's got any questions, please put them in the chat.
Yes, stick some questions in. And also, if you want to share, you should totally share your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, share your LinkedIn profile. Bex, would you mind sharing mine, please? Just because I've got stuff shared on about
I have yours ready to go.
Fabulous. So connect with me if you haven't already. I think most people have. So we're going to talk about pages really quickly. And I actually think it's my belief that from a page perspective, in terms of sharing, trying to increase followers on LinkedIn pages, that still needs to be driven from your personal profile, because it's the people side of things that really gets kind of noticed. That's where you can connect with people. So the way we work with a lot of our clients is we will build really good content, because it has to be good content on the company pages. It's we would build really good content and on the company pages, and then we will work with our clients to get their employees, so employee engagement, get their employees to share that and put their own context behind it. So that's the way we kind of work, and then it gets it out there. It gets it out there. I mean, there's other ways you can start engaging from company page to company page. That helps as well. But the key thing for me is to ensure that you're sharing great content. If you can't do that, speak to guys like us. That's what we do. Great content, and then make sure your employees and yourself, you're sharing that and putting some alternative context behind it. That's the key one for me. I've just realised that I've been chatting to people, and
Dave, you've been chatting only to me and yourself by posting into the panelists thing.
I
just noticed that Paul Drake, you've done that too, but I've shared yours, so everyone connect with Paul if you want to. And he thinks he needs updating now. You know, if you have a look at his profile and you've got some advice, send him a message and say, maybe you could add this in, or like connect with each other, look at each other's connections, see if anyone knows any solicitors that are looking for marketing, then to send them our way. There you go, Sharon. Thanks, Sharon.
Thanks, Sharon.
I try to connect with everyone before a lunch and learn. But if I haven't connected with everyone, then I'll go through and do this. Does anyone have any questions?
Any questions? Please fire them over. We've got about 2 minutes. We've finished pretty much on time today. So I will put the final slide up. If anyone's got any questions, please fire them over and I will address them. So just while can you still see the presentation, Bex?
I can.
Cool. Okay, cool. So because I'd open up LinkedIn, I clicked on the links. So our lunch and learners, I mean, that's it for the year because it's Christmas. And we're going to finish. Bex is going to finish with some carol singing. So really appreciate you confirming that you can do that. No, she's not. She's going to kill me. No, that's lunch and learn finished for the year. We will be back in the new year at some point. So I really hope that you guys kind of keep an eye on the emails, book yourself in. But yeah, if there's not any questions, we'll let people shoot a minute early.